Friday night football in the Pacific Northwest, a mid-season Pacific Division showdown between the incumbents, the Vancouver Legion, and the upstarts, the Portland Fleets. Half a season gone, a lot still to be determined in this new era of the SFL. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Delta Dome in Vancouver, BC. Producer extraordinaire Cameron Irvine working hard behind the scenes. We're joined by statisticians Mel Davis and Damon Simeon. Alongside my partner Jacob Clear, I'm Tim Hackett. You're watching the SFL presented by APM Music live on YouTube. Thanks for joining us wherever you're joining us from. Jacob, primetime mid-season matchup between two teams in a razor-thin Pacific Division. Get the sense that this game is going to go a long way towards deciding things in this division.
G'day SFL Nation, good night Tim, welcome to Vancouver, and look out, we've finally got Friday night football back in the SFL, and what better way to continue it with a division rivalry between two sides that have basically been neck and neck with each other this season. Vancouver have got so much depth in their offense and have been arguably the most efficient offense in the SFL so far, and Portland, of their first five games, have all been decided by a single score. So really excited to see what these two teams can produce tonight.
Well, good afternoon to you, Jacob, and good evening, SFL Nation. Friday night football from Vancouver, BC. The Legion at home and the All Golds will receive, and we are underway here at the Delta Dome. This high-flying Vancouver offense, one of the best offenses in recent SFL history. In the last half dozen plus seasons, they've continued that here in the new era of the SFL as we embark on season 21. They've been top 10 in the SFL in both points and in total yards on offense every season since season 23, and they're in the top 10 once again through 5 games here in season 21. Led by Christian Brown in his third season as the quarterback for the Vancouver Legion. First play of the game is a run up the left side, and Logan Lee stopped behind the line of scrimmage for a loss of 1 by Bernard Smith.
That's a good start by the free safety. Drops into the box there to make the play. Vancouver lead the league in offensive yards per carry. That's going to be crucial for Portland tonight, as if they can shut down that run.
Got a really good duo in the backfield, and Logan Lee, the rookie, and the veteran Robert Redford, now in his 12th season in the league. Lee got the first carry. He will get this one as well, and not much doing for Lee there. He gets 3. Here is the Vancouver offense for head coach Andy Hamilton. Christian Brown and Austin Blanco are the quarterbacks. We talked about the running backs, Lee and Redford, with Sawyer Stern, the fullback. Wide receivers, Chris Sunseri, Brett Killian, Himothy Mossam King, Zora Lunar, and Chris Curtis. Tight ends, Abad Ruiz II and Stephen McMichaels. 3rd and 8 for Christian Brown. Fires right seam. It's caught. First down, Vancouver. Out across the 45-yard line. There goes Brett Killian. The ageless wonder, now in his 13th season with his first and only franchise, an early move of the sticks for the Legion.
He did a good job there to look over the back, finds the BK12, the all-timer, and Christian Brown's actually having a bit of a sleeper MVP season. He's only thrown 1 pick in Vancouver's first 5 games. That is crucial to their offensive development, is playing turnover-free football.
Vancouver has that only 1 turnover through 5 games and a +9 turnover differential, both of those best in the league as we embark on week 7. Gain of 16 on 3rd and 8 for Killian. Brown will throw it and lost the handle and throws it right into Dale McLean's hands. The second interception of the season, right on cue, is returned for 6 for the Fleets.
Well, I'd love to give you analysis, Tim, but I have absolutely no idea what Christian Brown saw, what he was thinking, because it looked like that just went straight to him. And I don't know if he thought one of the linemen was an eligible receiver. I've got no idea. A complete brain snap by Christian Brown. And just, it was almost as if I jinxed him talking about turnover-free football. He's had 1 pick on the season. The very next play comes out and sends a pick 6 in shocking circumstances. Portland up on the board first.
It can't possibly be the elements. It's 66 and clear in Vancouver right now, and the ball slipped out of his hands. It's like his hand was sweaty. And right into the hands of Dale McLean, second defensive touchdown this season for Portland, and the Fleet with their offense on the sideline take an early 7-0 lead on this vaunted Vancouver offense. I'm with you, Jacob. I have absolutely no idea what we just saw. And Vancouver's coaches, fans, and players, sure, all gobsmacked, I'm sure. It's a rare, just a simple throwing error, if you will. This isn't baseball, but just an absolute misthrow from Christian Brown, unlike anything I've ever seen in this league.
Well, good pickup from our statistician, Damon Simeon, who pointed out that it was actually intended for Sawyer Stern, the fullback, and just seemed like a complete misthrow from Christian Brown.
Fortunately for Vancouver, that pass ended up being intended for Dale McLean, and he took it back to the house. Well, Portland with a 7-0 lead. Offense still on the sideline, and Christian Brown right back to work after Joey Robb's kick was fair caught in the end zone. So now Brown right back to work, going for Brett Killian on that seam route once again. And who's there defensively? Dale McLean, who just had that pick six 10 seconds ago.
Well, it looked like he had a chance at another one there, Tim. He, instead of going for the man, he probably should have looked for the ball, because there was two defensive backs on Killian there, and if he had held off, he might have had a second pick.
No question about it. Great double coverage by the Fleet. We'll tell you about their defense here in a minute. Only one turnover for Brown in this offense through 5 games. Turnover on their first possession here in game number 6. Vancouver comes in at 3-2, Portland 2-3. Pacific Division up for grabs, you would think, as we hit the halfway point after this week. Brown sidles back and hits Killian underneath for a gain of 6. Here's the offensive line for Vancouver before the Portland defense. Tackles Mike Coverson and Perrin Ibarra, guard Michael Percoco, and center Mike Newtones. It's getting harder and harder, Jacob, to fit in every unit on one play in this league. There's so many people involved, which is a very, very good problem to have. Vancouver full cupboard stocked on offense. Another third down for Brown. His pass is caught underneath, right in front of the defender by Zorro Lunar, and he fumbles the ball as he gets to the 40, and Portland picks it right back up. Chris Stock recovers the giveaway by Lunar, and 2 giveaways by Vancouver on their first 2 possessions. What is going on?
Well, it's disastrous, because the first drive ended off the back of a good pass that found Killian, and then they throw the pick. That time, the rookie Zorro Lunar breaks down the field in the middle and just seemingly surrenders possession pretty comfortably, and Portland get another turnover that was pretty much gifted to them. Vancouver have got the shakes at the moment.
Fumble forced by Derek Majors, recovered by Chris Stock, both of whom have played their entire careers here for the Portland Fleet, now year 7 for this franchise. So the first pass of the day for Portland, the first offensive play, quarterback Cyrus Jive hits Michael Knight right at the magic yellow line, and a gain of 10 for the Fleets.
And what an important import he's been, crossing over from Sioux Falls in his second season in the league as a free agent. Has been very important both as a slot and outside receiver for Portland. He's been a real heavy target for Cyrus Jive so far this season.
Talk about a balanced offense. Before today, Portland had run the ball almost exactly the same number of times that they have passed the ball through 5 games. Jive will throw, sidearm sling, short throw back to the tailback Ezekiel Love, right on cue, Jacob. Before today, Ezekiel Love, who's one of the standouts at the running back position in this league, he had carried the ball 135 times through 5 games, and Cyrus Jive had thrown the ball 136 times. That's ridiculous. 50-50 almost exactly through 5 games, but Portland 2-3. Love will get his first carry, and Love will get a first down. We'll be saying that a lot tonight, I figure.
Well, I mean, look, they've seen already by the performance of their defense that going through the air could be very difficult today against this Vancouver defense that does do a good job at turning the ball over, and you'll expect to see a lot of Ezekiel Love in the passing game as well. That's been a real favored target for Jive.
11 total touchdowns scored by Love through 5 games for the Fleets. Fresh set of downs from the 32. Jive will sling it this way, right into the hands of Israel Adams. So already on this first possession, Jacob, Portland has hit 3 of their top 4 targets. Adams, Knight, and Love. Nelson Lozano Jr. is the only guy missing so far.
Yeah, they're hitting stop routes at the moment just to make sure that Vancouver's defensive backs don't get in front of the ball. A good start for Portland's offense.
Gain of 9 for Adams. Knight had 10 on his first catch. Here's Love right up the middle, and first down for Love right to the 20-yard line. Here's the offense for Portland and head coach Mel Davis Jr. Oh, hold on. Mark Lopez in the play for Vancouver, a massive development in this game.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's been one of the top players this season in turning the ball over. I believe top 3 in interceptions with 4 on the season. So he's a huge part of this Vancouver defense that is very hard to replace, if not impossible.
They call him the stat sheet stuffer they have for his whole Vancouver career simply because of how much he does across the field for this Vancouver defense, but won't be able to be out there for the time being. We'll get you an update if we get one. Portland with a 7-0 lead, and without one of Vancouver's top defensive players, they will give it to Love. Love shakes through the tackle and gets about 7. Brought down from behind by Drew Hamilton, 6th-season safety. Here is the offense for Portland. Cyrus Jive is the quarterback. Ezekiel Love is the tailback. Fullback Jacob Farmer. Wide receivers Israel Adams, Ryan Davis, Michael Knight, Scott Johnson with Nelson Lozano Jr. the tight end. Offensive line anchored by Jay Warren and Randy Fatt III at tackle. Tyler Spencer at guard and Jaden Taylor at center. 2nd and 3. Love, nothing doing there. Pile driven by rookie linebacker DJ Woods.
A good defensive read, but I mean, look, efficiency is the name of the game here. You've got a division rival, you're on the road, you've got to get the run game going, and thus far, Ezekiel Love, nothing crazy, nothing too explosive, but he's been getting the job done. Important 3rd down here. Vancouver need to stop.
Another 3rd down for these two teams. They will toss it out to Love. Love with running room across the 5-yard line and taken down at the 3. We've seen that play a lot in this era of the SFL, Jacob, and it seems to me that it's worked extremely well.
And you can see why, because the defense got drawn into looking for a pass, and instead that gap opened wide open for Ezekiel Love and got close to potentially getting right near the goal line, but they're going to be hard to stop here. Love looks very good.
Woods makes his 2nd tackle on Love at the 4. 5 minutes left in the 1st. Here's Love. Nothing doing there. Vancouver's defense ready for that one.
Yeah, as I say that, we'll see if Vancouver's defense can step up, as they have quite a bit this season. The front 7 has been one of the best in the league. Achilles Papatonis has been a real threat, both in pass rush and run coverage situations. So this is going to be a good battle.
Vancouver stacks the box. They will give it to Love up right side, and maybe a yard or 2 that time for Love. Hit by J.J. Winfield, rookie strong safety, figures to play a little bit more with Lopez sideline.
Yeah, and they had such a deep draft, Vancouver. They took a lot of young players onto their roster, and each of them have had their own impact.
It's turned into a 3-2 record for the Legion to start, trying to hold the fort. Love breaks through the walls and scores. 11th rushing touchdown this season for Ezekiel Love. 2 turnovers for Vancouver, 2 touchdowns for Portland.
Yeah, and you felt like it was only a matter of time in that situation, and as soon as you see Strong Power I come out, you know where it's going, and Ezekiel Love just gets a really good gap. Jacob Farmer and the fullback both involved, and creates the gap for him to run into, and Portland, what a start this has been. Just over 5 minutes gone, and you're up 2 scores on a division rival on the road.
Well, you said it. You're 1st and goal from the 4. Feels like Ezekiel Love territory. Wonky snap, but Joey Robb knocks through the PAT. And they give it to Love. 3rd time was the charm, and he punches it in. Kind of felt inevitable to some extent.
But a good drive as well, Tim. I mean, the rushing from Ezekiel Love was efficient throughout. He had a couple that got stuffed at the line, but otherwise looked very impressive early. And Jive, nothing crazy, just keeping the ball in the air and getting it to his men.
And that drive was predicated by the longest play from scrimmage of the game from Vancouver. 34-yard catch and run by rookie Zorro Lunar ended up in the fumble, recovered by Chris Stock. And then Ezekiel Love turns that into 7 points, and the Fleet leading Vancouver 14-0 in the 1st quarter. These teams have met every season since Portland joined in season 15. They're now division rivals as the SFL has moved back to a division format. Vancouver won each of the first 5 meetings, 4 of them by double digits. But Portland won both of the 2 meetings last season in season 20, albeit by a combined 7 points. So the Fleet are on a 2-game winning streak in this all-time series. The Fleet won just 5 games last year, and 2 of them were against Vancouver, a team that ended up going to the playoffs. Can the Legion right the ship? Logan Lee with the first give and a gain of 1.
His Portland defense has come to play well and truly, and we've seen early they've already generated 2 turnovers, but Logan Lee has gotten absolutely no love on the ground to his 4 carries or so far. He needs to get a little bit of a move on here. This offensive line's not creating enough for him.
4 standouts on this offensive line helped pave the way for a career game last week for Logan Lee, but yeah, a slow start for him here in the first quarter. Vancouver will send a man in motion. That's Lunar, who had that big catch leading to the fumble earlier on. Brown rolls left, has time. Across his body with a dot. What a throw from Brown, brought in by Chris Curtis off of a big game last week as well. First down, Vancouver.
Well, that's it. And Christian Brown is going to look for his main guys as much as he possibly can. You know, you've got BK12 has already had 3 targets, 2 completions, and now Chris Curtis has gotten involved. That's going to be really important over the next few minutes as to how much he can get the ball to those outside receivers.
Bernard Smith, the fourth, the safety on the tackle eventually on Curtis after a gain of 21. Brown's going to tuck it and run. He escapes and slides and gets hit as he goes down. Well, that was a circuitous route, I think you could say, Jacob, but ends up as a gain of 3.
Yeah, interesting call. Not something you see very often, but in a game that's seen quarterbacks diversify their game, that's a nice run.
We have not seen running quarterbacks very often in this league's history, and that almost ended up being a designed run for Brown. Not quite. They turned it into something at least. Curtis comes in motion, stands off right tackle, and here's the give. Lee escapes the first tackle, escapes the second tackle, and races down the left sideline. One man to beat. He'll escape a third tackle, and Logan Lee will score. He shakes off a slow start. To the house he goes. Vancouver's on the board.
The number 1 steal of the previous draft, Logan Lee, has been incredibly important for Vancouver's defense in season 21, and that is a highlight reel run from a highlight reel player. You see, it looked like he'd gotten free, and you're like, yeah, fair enough, this is going to be a big run, but it's this last move that he puts on that final defender for Portland that looked for sure that he was going to go out of bounds. He stays in play. That is a huge play, and it's a veteran play at that from a rookie. Incredible stuff from Logan Lee.
I think you subbed it up beautifully. There's so many things that we saw in that run that were as impressive as it gets in this league, and you're looking at a guy who's playing his 6th professional game. Broke 3 tackles, including one from Chris Stock, who had that fumble recovery earlier in this quarter. Somehow stays in bounds in the final 15 yards and ultimately takes it 44 yards to the house. There he is on the sideline, off of a game that any running back would envy, except maybe Ezekiel Love, who had almost the same game himself last week. But against LA last week, Lee, 26 carries for 228 yards and 3 touchdowns, a career game for the rookie in just his 5th professional game, and now Lee, a 44-yard touchdown run to get Vancouver on the board here against another Pacific Division opponent, the Portland Fleets. Here's Scott Johnson on the return for Portland. Johnson with the spin, and he gets out to the 34-yard line. This man is dangerous, Jacob. New team, new role, better success than ever for Scott Johnson here this season. He returned that from 4 yards deep in his own end zone and still got out to the 34-yard line. That's crazy. 2 kick return touchdowns on the season for Johnson, including one last week, and yet another nail biter for Portland against San Diego. As Jacob said, Portland has played 5 games. Every game has been decided by 7 points or fewer. As Jive threads it in somehow. What a throw and a better catch. Out to the first down line for Michael Knight, his second grab. Thread that into double coverage nicely. And it's been Knight and Adams that have been the stars of the show for Portland this season. It's a pretty inexperienced offense overall, outside of Lozano and Love, who are both in their 7 seasons. So nobody else has played more than 3 in this full seasons, that is, in this league. Love on the carry. Left tackle and a gain of about 4. Here is the Vancouver defense for Andy Hamilton. On the line, Achilles Papatonis, Cabron Womack, Gerald Giudice, and Michael Rory. Linebackers Josh Farnsey, DJ Woods, and Marquise Reed. Quarterbacks Emmanuel Blackman, Michael Lister, Zach Lay, and Will Stern. With safeties Mark Lopez, Drew Hamilton, and JJ Winfield. And a 4 on first down for Love. 3 in the backfield here for the Fleet. Love again the carry with Stern, with Farmer paving the way. And Love has enough for the first down.
I'm back, Tim. I apologize. I'm having technical problems over here, but appreciate you holding down the fort. And Portland right back to it here on offense. Ezekiel Love has just started off like a house on fire. 10 carries already at a calm 4.2 yards per carry. That's in line with what he's been like this season, just efficient as.
Our in-game producers reading your minds. Perfect timing on that. And a nice link up there from Jive to Israel Adams. We mentioned it's been Adams and Knight who have been the leaders of this Portland offense this season. They have combined for nearly 750 yards. Jive threw for exactly 1,100 yards before today's game started, and 2/3 of those went to either Adams or Knights. Lozano's fairly involved as well, so it's really just those 3 guys as the figureheads of this passing offense. But got one of the best tailbacks in the league in Love helping to pave the way as well. Here is Love. Shakes out of the hit in the backfield and is able to dive forward and get a couple of extra. Marquise Reed brings him down, but that could have been a loss of 2.
Again, it's a difficult run to get for, but he makes it happen. Ezekiel Love just pushing this Vancouver defense backwards, and you'd expect here on 3rd down he's going to get the ball again. I mean, you're going to keep it going to the hot hand.
It's got to be his territory, right? 3rd down and 1. They don't have to snap it. They will. They will give it to Love. Love runs into his lineman and gets taken down behind the line. DJ Woods with the pursuit and the TFL, and that's going to bring an end to the first quarter. 2 turnovers for Vancouver. They had just 1 through 5 games. Portland capitalizes on both, and the Fleet lead it 14-7. You're watching the Simulation Football League presented by APM Music on YouTube. Welcome back to Vancouver, British Columbia. Tim Hackett and Jacob Clear here with you. So 3 different countries represented right here, right now. And Vancouver is going to force Portland into a field goal to start off the second quarter, Jacob.
Well, it's an important stop that Vancouver needed very desperately, and you see Joey Raab knock that one through, and that's a terrific field goal, by the way. The talent of the kicking class in the SFL continues to impress, and yeah, they really needed that, Vancouver, and off the back of the 2 turnovers that started that first quarter, they then got an outstanding run by Logan Lee, an individual effort, and you'll be looking for more of that on this next possession, with Logan Lee getting more and more involved as the game progresses.
To your point, kicking has been tremendous in the SFL this season. We've got 2 kickers in this game today that are perfect on the campaign. Chance to win for Vancouver is 12 of 12. And Rob, now, and albeit a limited sample size, is now 5 of 5. Returnable here for Mossam King for Vancouver. That is Mossam King for Vancouver. And they will start off from the 32. If you're new to the Simulation Football League, then welcome. The SFL is football for everyone. Get off the sideline and start your player today by joining our Discord server at simulationfl.net. Click the Join the Community button and begin your career, or just to meet the stars of the SFL on and off the field. It's never too late to get involved. Well, after this weekend, we'll be halfway through the regular season here in Season 21, and everything's still to play for in a wide-open Pacific Division. LA a few games behind the pack right now, but by no means out of it. Vancouver's your reigning champ. What else is new? Favorites to win it once again. What else is new? If they lose today, they'll be at best tied for the division lead at the halfway mark. Love. I beg your pardon, that's Lee. So used to 21 carrying the ball, and that's Ezekiel Love. But Vancouver's got a pretty fine number 21 on their side as well, Jacob, and Logan Lee starts off with 3.
Well, they're both on fire at the moment, and to your point earlier, you mentioned that Portland have won the last 2 matchups between these 2 teams. It seems like Portland have got the knock on them at the moment, and that could well play into division implications.
No question about it. Brown's pass right on target, a little bit behind his man. That's Zorro Lunar, who had that big catch earlier. Second catch today for the rookie.
And that's the thing when you're dealing with rookies who have made mistakes early in games, particularly in this case with Zoro Luna and that fumble. Just get the ball back to him, let him regain his confidence, and that's a really important play because it'll set him up for the rest of this game, just with a little bit more confidence in his stride.
Right back to him. I do love that. So 32 yards, beg your pardon, 34 yards on his first grab, 13 on that one for the rookie. Figures to be in an elevated role. We gave him some recent roster moves for Vancouver, and right at the line of scrimmage, no dice on that run. Tackle made immediately for Portland by Joseph Lama, an outside linebacker. I'll tell you about the Portland defense after this play. 17-7, the Fleet in front. Other team that is the early contender for this division title in action tonight as well, Seattle. Brown's pass, right on target to Chris Curtis, hit at the 45-yard line. And Vancouver has had little trouble moving the ball, Jacob. They've been their own worst enemy so far.
Yeah, you're right. And again, Christian Brown is in a similar instance to we're talking about, regaining confidence. He seems to have just picked up right where he left off earlier in the game. Obviously, he had a couple of turnovers he needed to shake off. He's gone right back to it. But again, just finding those outside receivers is going to be really important for him that time, finding Curtis again.
Second catch for Curtis. And here's Lee. Blows through the first defender and gets a gain of 4. Quickly, here is the Portland defense on the line. Robert Brouwer, Ricky Phillips, Luis Negron, and Jobu McSlim. Linebackers Mel Davis, Lucas Gilbert, Brody Gulch, and Joseph Lama. Corners Chris Stock, Derek Majors, Leo Morris, and Ryan Cook. With safeties Bernard Smith and Dale McLean. It's the lineup for defensive coordinator Ezekiel Love, who's taken a much bigger role on the coaching side of things over the last few seasons. Strong toss to Lee. Lee gets outside, gets near the sideline, stays in bounds, ducks, and he scores again! Another majestic run for Logan Lee.
Here we go. It's a Logan Lee clinic here in Vancouver, and once again finds the outside of the Portland defense and effectively goes untouched. Great blocking by the front end from Vancouver's offense. Just got too bad of an angle there. The linebacker wasn't quite in position to make the play, and he walks it in for a score here. Brings it back to 3 pending the extra point.
44-yard touchdown run in the first quarter, 30-yard touchdown run here in the second quarter. Chris Curtis throwing out a lead block, no trouble seeing his defender on that one, and Vancouver is right back in this thing. PAT from chance to win is up and good, and it is a 3-point game here in the second quarter. Through 4 games, Jacob, the 2 tailbacks in this offense, Logan Lee, the rookie, and Robert Redford, the 12th season veteran, their season stats were almost identical, and I'm not sure if this was part of the game plan for Andy Hamilton and company, but we already mentioned Lee's sensational game last week against the Lycans, and he's already started to build one here in the first half against the Fleet. I'm not sure if they were just kind of grandfathering him into the system alongside the ageless wonder Redford and helping him to eventually take over the lead back duties, but it seems to be the case here through the last 4 quarters last week and the first 2 here this week.
But you have to admire the confidence that they've shown to bring it out and put him in that position, because Robert Redford's stats this season have been buoyed by one massive performance a few weeks ago, and since then, and surrounding that game, it has been all Logan Lee. But in contrast, Portland has been all about Ezekiel Love, and we'll see again more on this drive to see if they can get him to have that same upward swing that Lee has had.
Irish Jive back to throw on his first pass of this drive, and that's swatted away. Great coverage on the sideline by Vancouver. Zach Lay on the stop for the Legion.
Zach Lay's been with this club for a couple of seasons, former strong safety, so you can see those coverage skills. Would like to have had that one back, I think. He just didn't quite get the hands right, and falls harmlessly to the turf.
Love, one of the best in the business in the league at the running back position. He's been solid so far to start. Portland's lead is dwindled down to 3 points as we tick down here in the second quarter. Man in motion. It's Ryan Davis, sophomore wide receiver, now to the bottom. Snap it with 2. Cyrus Jive into traffic again. Same man in coverage. That's Lay. There were 3 Legion defenders there, Jacob, in our first penalty flag of the night.
And it's a silly error by Zach Lay because, like you said, they had a ton of coverage around the receiver and it was almost always going to fall incomplete, but he makes contact right before the ball gets to the receiver and Israel Adams. It was just a completely unnecessary penalty to give away there, and it was on third down as well, I believe, so you've essentially cost yourself a potential 3 and out.
It's no question that Vancouver has helped give Portland this early lead. They've taken advantage. I love that touchdown run that they manufactured on 1st and goal, but those 2 giveaways played direct parts, and that is a costly penalty by Lay. Ball spotted now at the 45. Jive, short drop, right back in stride on a comeback route. Quick catch by Michael Knights, his 3rd grab of the game already.
And he's been the man this season. Michael Knight really has taken a step forward. He was the 4th receiver on Sioux Falls' depth chart. This season has kind of been operating as a starting outside receiver. 6'4", 225, big target. He was born to be an outside receiver.
I was impressed by what I saw from him in Sioux Falls in limited action last season, Jacob. As Love gets the 1st down and then gets stuck after a gain of 3. There are a couple of guys now in this league that have had the opportunity to elevate themselves. I'm thinking of like Michael Banks, who used to be with Louisiana. Michael Knight, as you said, used to be with Sioux Falls. Now he has the opportunity to have a featured role here with Portland. As we mentioned, it's kind of an unproven receiving core. Lozano Jr. is very good. He's now in his 7th season, but other than that, very young receiving core for a 3rd-year quarterback in Jive, who will throw here into coverage again. That's ripped down by Israel Adams, the other standout receiver for the Fleet, and he gets down to the 20.
Well, there's another young man who had an upgrade over the offseason, this time within his own team. He was a slot guy in previous seasons with Portland, and I believe his 3rd or 4th season now with the ball club. This season has taken that step forward to be another outside receiver for Cyrus Jive to throw to. That time, cut it back to the inside. Good target, good throw, good catch.
You're making a great point. We talked about Knight coming over from a new team, filling in a bigger role. Adams is your holdover now, filling a bigger role, ostensibly as a number 1, or at least a number 2 target on this team. Love, no question, he's the number 1, and he gets 4. Ezekiel Love, 795 rushing yards and 10 rushing touchdowns. He's added to that in this game. 6 yards per carry, top 10 in the league in every single rushing statistic. No surprise. He's always up in the top 5, it feels like. Maybe even the top 2 or 3 in rushing statistics. So he's off to a slow start by his standards this season. So many good running backs in the league here in season 21. Love, nothing doing. Maybe a gain of 1 that time. Woods again on the hit.
And you talk about the balance that Portland's offense has had so far this season. You've really seen it on this drive. Started off with the pass going downfield. Now they've just gone back, put it down on the ground. This time we'll see, probably thinking they'll pass it here with 5 to go.
Delayed handoff. And Love has nothing doing. Situation. Felt like a passing situation to me, but instead they run it on 3rd and 5, and Vancouver said, no thank you. It's Josh Farnsey with the stop.
Yeah, it was one of those situations, Tim, where, as a coach, you're trying to lure your opposition defense into a false sense of security. Thought that Portland may have potentially made the wrong call there because Vancouver didn't exactly drop back and give Ezekiel enough space, but the delayed handoff, I guess, was trying to give off the thought that Portland were going to pass in that situation. Tried to trick the defense. Vancouver recovers well. Good stop.
Second time this quarter, limiting Portland to just 3. Joey Robb hits from 28. His previous one was from 46. We didn't announce that at the time. Farnsey with that stop on 3rd down, the most experienced on Vancouver, at least, of this linebacking core. Portland able to add just 3 to their tally. Chris Sunseri on the return, out to the 27 and no further. For all league highlights, photo galleries, major and minor league stats and leaderboards, community content, and so much more, check out the league's website at simulationfl.net, presented by Football Shift. Stay up to date and explore our past, present, and future. Well, fans of this league in the past know that this division has been Vancouver's for the taking. No one has been able to really unseat them at the top of this division. Many have tried. LA was the team at Vancouver's heels when they first came over from Chicago. Portland has really been the closest over the last couple of years. Seems like Seattle may be the challenger this season, but a lot still to be determined, and nothing to determine about that one. That's a great catch. Zoro Lunar with a snag with one hand.
Confidence is back in the rookie, and you mentioned the whole Vancouver being at the top of the division. Portland have just been that team that have just been always thereabouts, and have yet to make the playoffs, I believe, in their franchise history.
Right.
Looks like this season is their best opportunity yet to get into the wild card spots.
They're 2-3, but as Jacob mentioned right at the top of the show, it's a touch misleading as Logan Lee has the first down and a whole lot more. Leaves a couple of defenders in his dust, gets to the sideline, and Chris Stock prevents him from rushing for his third touchdown of the first half. Still inside the 40-yard line, this rookie is taking flights.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we've seen this so much this season, the rookie tailbacks coming in and really opening up the league and taking over as the new crop of talent. And Logan Lee has been a fantastic example of that because he's taken over from Robert Redford as the lead back in Vancouver. But with runs like that, you understand why. I mean, he's had 3 massive runs already in this game, 2 of which were taken for a score, already over 100 yards on the game. Incredible start for Logan Lee.
3 rushes of 30-plus yards in the first half alone. That one for 32. They'll toss it. Here's Robert Redford with his first carry of the game. Nearly broke through, but not quite that time. Brought down by Luis Negron, the defensive tackle. Redford is the veteran on this team. He's the incumbent recent SFL Hall of Fame inductee. His 7th season with this franchise, 12th overall. Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the best running backs this league has ever seen, but of late has ceded more and more work to the rookie. Logan Lee, who's the 50th overall pick in the most recent SFL drafts. Spot Redford with a gain of 2. How much work do they give Redford with how good Lee has been? Lee right back in it after one play off. Blows through Chris Stock and gets to the first down line. Absolutely bulldozing run.
Oh my goodness, and he's a more agile back, and he's doing like the flexibility that he has as a rusher, the amount of tools that he has that he can pull out in that situation. Unbelievable. Redford back in the game.
124 rushing yards now for Lee. Brown's going to throw wide open. Lunar to the 13-yard line. This rookie was not a big piece of the offense through 5 games, Jacob, but with a couple of changes recently for Vancouver, it looks like Lunar's going to be the beneficiary of a few more looks from Christian Brown.
Well, I like it because they've rotated their roster so far this season to get all 3 of the rookies that they drafted at the wide receiver spot involved. They brought in Chris Sansieri and Timothy Mossam-King also, as well as Zoro Lunar in the draft at the wide receiver spot, and all 3 of them have been heavily involved in different points of the season.
Love that versatility from Vancouver. Toss to Redford. Redford breaks out of a tackle, gets to the sideline, and Robert Redford still got it. Career rushing touchdown number 150 for the all-time greats, and Vancouver has tied this game.
Unbelievable. And you mentioned how it's kind of been, he's kind of stepped back since joining the Hall of Fame, and he's also joined the Vancouver ownership box. So I suppose he's just been spending the season sitting back and drinking expensive wine in the owner's box in Vancouver. This time just trots out, scores a casual touchdown. I'll get my career milestone and I'll let Logan Lee do the rest. I mean, he's done everything there is to do in this SFL career, and he just comes out and casually strolls in for a touchdown and will give Vancouver the lead after scoring. They went 14-0 down to start the game. They're now up by 1.
13-yard touchdown run for Robert Redford, and it was only natural that he would have a moment to shine in this game, Jacob. It feels like, for so long, the guy's name is Robert Redford. He was the headliner, the star attraction on a team that is just chock full of offensive superstars for the last few seasons for Vancouver. He was the headliner. But this season, it feels like, at least to this point of the year, and maybe it's premature, we're not even halfway through, but it feels like on a team with Robert Redford that Vancouver now has both Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Logan Lee has been that good. I'm not sure who's the main attraction right now. They both have contributed so far tonight. Lee trying to take over that headlining role for sure, but Redford still knows how to play a part. Vancouver with the lead for the first time. Jive's throw caught behind by Israel Adams, and that's been about as far as every one of his catches has gone, a gain of 9.
Well, Portland, they've got to respond now. I mean, you've basically been called out. You had the lead. Now you've lost it. The offense hasn't been there as we hit the 2-minute warning. They need to get something moving.
Last 2 drives have ended in Joey Robb field goals, and Vancouver has righted the ship, to be sure. You're watching the SFL presented by APM Music live on YouTube. Happy to have you with us. Tim Hackett and Jacob Clear here with you live from the Delta Dome. Belle Davis, Damon Simeon, and Cameron Irvine here with us as well. One other game in action. 0-0 score after 1 quarter between Seattle and Las Vegas as Ezekiel Love picks up the first down for Portland. You mentioned that's a critical game as well, Jacob. I saw Las Vegas last week. I thought they were solid. Seattle is off to the best start in team history. They've kind of been afterthoughts in the league since they've joined, but they've looked good this year as well. They're 3-2, so they're tied with Vancouver for the division lead right now, and obviously a game ahead of Portland. There could be a 3-way tie atop the division as Jive gets away from a hit and fires to the midfield stripe. Nelson Lozano Jr. has his first catch. How did Cyrus Jive do that?
Yeah, and you know, he made that look way too natural. I mean, seriously, he just shook the tackle off, and this is a Vancouver defense that has done a really good job of getting to the quarterback this season. That time he just shook the defender clean and then unleashed an absolute rocket over the middle of the field to find his man. That gets him moving. Surely that's got to get this Portland offense moving to end the half.
You said it. Both of these teams have been great at pressuring quarterbacks. Neither line has been very good protecting as Jive's passes between both Knight and Adams. And Vancouver is one of the best pass rushing teams in the league. So is Portland, and that's led by, for Vancouver, Achilles Papatonis, Greek Nightmare, who leads the league with 5 sacks. Left side of this defensive line, number 55 in the Vancouver gold. One of the guys that's hot on his heels is on the other side, Portland's rookie Ricky Phillips, who has 4. More about him later. Second down for Jive. Protected this time and hits a man in stride. Nice catch by Ryan Davis, who has his first grab of the day. And a timeout on the field as well.
You're checking in, slot receiver for Portland. That's the first time he's been targeted, I believe. It's kind of been a bit of a straightforward attack from Portland so far, but good to see the ball being spread around by Cyrus Jive.
Gain of 15 for Ryan Davis, sophomore wideouts. His second year in the league, Knight's 3rd, Adams 4th. Portland responding well to start here, must be said. Already in striking distance for Robb. Jive barely moves. His pass nearly picked. Going for Johnson, actually, and reaching up to swat it away. Vancouver makes the stop.
Now, Scott Johnson was a real headliner in the offseason, moving from running back to wide receiver, and has really shown the versatility of his skill set moving into that spot. He's got a really good run after catch ability naturally as a former tailback, but has yet to really make his statement in this game.
Second down. Jive's pass away from Michael Knights. 2 incompletions for Jive, who had been rock solid to start this game, Jacob. And it's 3rd down and 10. I said it earlier, in range for Joey Robb, but maybe not. It'd be a tough field goal for here. It'd be about 50 yards.
Yeah, well, that's why you probably think you go to the ground and see if you can get 5 or 6 just to make the job a little bit easier. It looks like they'll pass it.
I'm with you. It depends on how confident you feel. Play action. Jive's pass is caught. Michael Knights is able to get away from the defender and pick up a clutch first down for the Fleet. And Portland take their second timeout.
Yeah, I seem to forget that he's got a massive target on the left-hand side of his offense that he's going to really go to if he can throw across his body. Finds Michael Knight again. He's been the hot hand so far in this offense that he's run a similar route pretty much every time.
Damon Simeon telling us those were the first back-to-back incompletions for Jive. He shakes it off of the first down, and now here's Nelson Lozano over the middle. Lozano to the end zone. He scores! Nelson Lozano Jr. carrying a defender across the goal line, and Portland back in front.
What a moment for Portland's offense. Looks stagnant throughout the second quarter, and This time, he looked like he just barely got it, but because he dropped the shoulder onto the goal line and then rolled in, it's an awkward one for Nelson Lozano Jr., but he gets the score, and Portland push it back out to a lead.
Drew Hamilton was draped all over Nelson's shoulders, could not keep him out of the end zone. We were just talking seconds ago about a potential field goal for Joey Robb. Instead, it's a PAT that's good, and Portland is right back in front. Back and forth we go in this ball game. Are we surprised?
Not at all, Tim, and like this is a true division rivalry game. I mean, both offenses have really kind of kicked it up in this second quarter. What a good game.
Well, we mentioned potential 51-yard field goal for Robb after that 3rd and 10. Jive hits Knight for a gain of 16, then hits Lozano for a gain of 18 and a touchdown, and Portland is back in front. Liking this game so far? I would expect so. Then smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. The SFL produces over 400 events a year. There's no one else that gives you more football. Don't miss a minute of SFL or SFLM action and help the channel grow through your support. Well, nothing new this season for Portland. They've played 5 games, and every single game has been decided by 7 points or fewer. And with 42 seconds left in the first half, their lead is just 6. Plenty of time for Vancouver. Always been known as a quick strike offense, regardless of who the quarterback has been, but certainly since Christian Brown has been here. And they have 3 timeouts. Brown's going to shot put it short, and Brett Killian will drag McLean forward for a gain of 9, and there is a timeout for Vancouver. Weird play.
Yeah, strange. I mean, you think if they were going to try and gun for it here to end the half, you would try and hit it downfield. Instead, he sends his number 1 target to an outside route. I wonder if they're just going to try and run this out instead and not risk turning the ball over again.
Strange, you're right. That was the big Achilles heel, if you will, for the team with Achilles Papatonis in the first quarter. Brown's going to roll out, and now he will see heat and gets blown up by Mel Davis.
Yeah, and that'll end the half. That was, again, a strange call because they brought out a bit of a joker set, and then he tried to roll out to the outside. Wonder if they were trying to, again, trick Portland's defense into calling something that would target the run and catch him off guard, but Mel Davis just plows straight through the middle. He's doing the stats. Now he's getting in and getting a sack. He can do it all.
Second sack this season for the league veteran, Mel Davis. Vancouver's going to throw one more time, and Brown's pass is intercepted. A chance for Portland in the waning seconds, and the tackle is made with 1 second left. Leo Morris with the interception. 3rd giveaway by Vancouver in the first half, and the Fleet have a second to add 3 more points.
Well, the one thing you couldn't do in that situation was turn the ball over, and they went to a pass 3 times and didn't, they took a risk. And unfortunately, they're going to pay the price for it because with 1 second left, Portland, they got a shot to extend this beyond 1 score. That's huge.
I can't believe what we've seen from Christian Brown and company in this game. That was a baffling throw, I have to be honest. And Leo Morris takes advantage. Team with just 1 giveaway through 5 games has turned the ball over 3 times in the first half, and Portland has made them pay every single time. 17 points off those 3 Vancouver turnovers, and that has led the Fleet to a 9-point halftime lead. 3rd field goal today by Robb. That's the difference. Portland on top of Vancouver, 30-21. Well, Jacob, we came into this game talking about how this was a likely pivot point midway through the season for both of these teams. 6 games into a 12-game season after tonight's division lead at the halfway point is at stake with Seattle in action tonight as well. And so far, so good. This game has lived up to the billing.
Absolutely, and such is the nature of a division rivalry game. It looks like we're going to smash that over today, presented by Jack Starter at 64.5. And well, Logan Lee is going to be the player of the half, but he's on the losing end. It's been Portland's defense, I think, that's really kind of made the statement with the ability to turn the ball over. But Lee has kept them in the game all by himself, really, and huge second half coming up here. This score could be anything, as I think we're going to check the status of Mark Lopez.
There you go. You're right on it. Doubtful to return. injured with a sore neck. I thought we might have seen him out there a minute ago, or for a minute, I should say, but that is a massive loss for Vancouver, and we've seen them try to adapt to it, Jacob, in terms of personnel, in terms of performance, and it's been hit or miss without their top free safety. That's a massive loss for this team.
Huge loss, but it's one of those things when you talk about neck injuries, it's always about precautions, and I suppose they wouldn't want to risk anything if there is some damage in there. But Mark Lopez has a huge loss for the Vancouver defense and unlikely to return in this game.
Portland will get the ball first with a 9-point lead. Early return here for Leo Morris, who just had that interception. Down the sideline he goes, and he's been putting together this offense himself with the interception return and now the kick return. Portland's going to start from midfield.
Well, the last 5 minutes of play, everything's been going Portland's way. There was a moment where there was a period of the game where Vancouver were all over the game, and then Portland came right back into it, and a good start to the half for Portland. Special teams getting it done here and pushing it up over halfway. Huge start.
Well, Fleet come into this game at 2-3. They lost last week in an absolute barn burner, 41-38 at San Diego. In those 5 games, their net point differential is just -7. They have been in every single game, and yes, Portland, they very well should, or at least could, have won against the Mavericks last week before the Mavericks ended up outgunning them, if you will, and stole a shootout win to send the Portland's Fleet below 500. They've got a 9-point lead as Ezekiel Love gets a gain of 5 to start off here. Look at this stat line for Portland this year, or this record line. They have a 6-point win and a 6-point loss. They have a 3-point win and a 3-point loss. The only difference is that 7-point loss in week 1 against Seattle, the other division contender here at the halfway point. Got to figure that result will come into play big time down the stretch for either of those teams, or maybe for Vancouver, one way or another. Wonder if Portland's going to try to get a 7-point win here today and have themselves at a net point total of 0 through 6 games. Love. How about a net point total of Love as he gets a first down?
Well, that's a great point, how a lot of their games this season have been decided within the single score, and that's kind of been the story of their history as a franchise, season 16 expansion. I'll tell you, I don't want to have a jab at Portland, but if there were a trophy for the team that was best to get to a 600 record, a 500 record, and not make the playoffs, Portland would win it. They're just right there.
Seems as if they have been on that cusp for a long time, for sure, as Love gets 2. They've had losing seasons. Their best record has been 6-6. 5 wins last season, but like to your point, I'm with you, Jacob. I mean, I've seen this division quite a bit over the last few seasons, and the first few seasons, just like they are for just about any franchise, they were tough for Portland. But the last few seasons, this is a tough out for any team, and Vancouver knows that full well. As Love barrels up, gets through Marquise Reed, and not much further. Again, Vancouver has won this division outright the last few seasons. And Portland had their number last year. They won both of the games in the head-to-head series, albeit by a combined 7 points. So both games were extremely close, but there weren't too many teams that beat Vancouver in the regular season last year, and Portland beat them twice, trying to win their 3rd in a row in this franchise series. Jive's going to throw on 3rd down. Altate, he fires. It's caught! Ryan Davis in stride. Touchdown, Portland. Cyrus Jive with a dot on 3rd down.
What a play by Cyrus Jive, finding, as you said, the sophomore receiver. He's the slot guy for this Portland offense. That time just gets a good read on the safety, makes the play, completes it, and Portland extend this one out. It's been a huge 5-6 minute turnaround from Portland after Vancouver seemingly dominated the midpoint of the first half. Portland just held strong, came back, and now have pushed it out to what will be a 16-point margin.
PAT from Rob is up and good. 31-yard link up from Jive to Davis. And you saw what the area of the field they targeted, Jacob. That's Mark Lopez's free safety spot. He was not out there. 27 and old, vacant. And Ryan Davis took full advantage on that score.
That does really hurt, doesn't it? You as a coach, you watch that and you've brought in a young player to come in and cover that spot. He makes an error, and that's really hard to come back from.
Lopez was injured in the first quarter if you're just joining us, and we have not seen him since. Deep kick from Rob, no chance on a return. And this game has continued to swing. Portland had all the momentum early because Vancouver gifted them with 2 turnovers. Portland went up 14-0, then Vancouver ultimately rallied, took a 21-20 lead, but since then it's been all Portland. They got that late field goal with 1 second left, courtesy of the interception from Leo Morris, and the Fleet have scored the last 16 points to take the lead. Logan Lee had a standout first half. I beg your pardon, the last 17 points for Portland, and they now have a 16-point lead. Lee was the story of that first half, no question, Jacob. He has continued to burst on the scene over the last couple of weeks.
But something's got to give for Vancouver's offense. You can't solely rely on the tailback to get the job done. I think the other element, here we go, Christian Brown has found Logan Lee.
First down for Lee on the catch. First time we've seen him employ that strategy here tonight.
But again, to the point, you've got to start looking at other elements of your offense to get going, but also defensively you need to pick it up. He's kind of just been the sole reason that they're in the game at the moment with his big playability, and that time got a really nice first down off of a reception this time. So his versatility is so impressive. He can run a power play, he can run a screen, he can run it to the outside and break it off for 50 plus. He can do it all.
See that? Christian Brown has 1 pass that has not been caught by anybody tonight. But he has thrown 2 interceptions, which is rare. And he's got a wide open Chris Curtis inside enemy territory down himself at the 44.
That's better. They need more of that. It was, again, we talk about the midpoint of that first half was when this sort of offense was really starting to come out for Vancouver in that time. I'm not sure where that space came from. The corner just seemed to play off of Chris Curtis and gave him a lot of room. And that gets Vancouver on the move. 2 straight first downs.
You know that Brett Killian is the superstar in this wide receiving core for Vancouver. Has been for a long time, but it's Curtis that leads the team. 20 catches, 332 receiving yards, including 103 against Jack Hacksaw in LA last week. Strong toss to Logan Lee. Step over move, and Lee with a gain of 6. And let's go to Cameron Irvine in the SFL studios for the first time tonight. He's got a game break.
Thank you, Tim. A very low-scoring game in Las Vegas. Type attack to Pauly Truth just before the end of the half. They are starting the third quarter. 7-0. Nemesis on top of the Fury. Back to you in Vancouver.
Thanks very much, Cam. Fans of these 2 teams watching that game closely. And can we have 2 more polar opposites of a game? I don't think we can, as Logan Lee is going to get close to the first down. They spot him short. Bernard Smith, the 4th with the tackle. It's 3rd and inches.
Yeah, who picked the under in that Seattle game? Because if you say you did, you're probably lying. I don't think anyone would have expected that game
I would not have,
to be as shallow. Yeah, absolutely. And this game, it looks like it's going to absolutely destroy the over.
And that is also not a surprise. More on that in a second. The lines on the TV are overlapping, and Lee is going to fall behind them. Portland with the TFL. Chris Stock has had his fingerprints all over this game, and a TFL, a rare one on Logan Lee. Decision here for Vancouver. They're going to punt.
Punt the ball away. And,
wow.
You know, that might be a sign of mercy even because, I mean, if you're Portland's head coach and I'm defensive coordinator, Mel Davis and Ezekiel Love on the sideline, you've got to be impressed with the way your defense has been playing. They've turned the ball over. They've gotten stops where necessary. You know, barring a few big plays by Logan Lee, they've effectively held Vancouver very tight tonight and have gotten the ball back here, getting, the most important thing as a defense is getting off the field. Portland, again, out with another opportunity to extend the lead even further.
Well, they had 3rd down in inches and a tailback in Logan Lee that has rushed for 350 yards and 6 touchdowns over the last 6 quarters, and he could not get that extra half yard to move the sticks, and they decide to punt from the 34-yard line. So a net of just 20 yards for Vancouver. Portland with the ball from the 14, up 16. Jive gives to Love, and Vancouver answers with a tackle behind the sticks. Emmanuel Blackman, who is one of the many cast-offs from London, which is not competing this season. Blackman is a former #1 corner in this league, Jacob, and he joins this standout secondary in a bit of a reduced role.
Yeah, not a bad depth piece to have if you're Vancouver. A guy with experience in every position in the secondary as Ezekiel Love gets another carry. But just going back to that last Vancouver drive, you think at this point in the game, we're already 5 minutes into the second half. At some point, you think you've got to take the gamble and punt. I mean, you're down by 3 scores. You've got to probably go for it in that situation. But the defense looks to get a stand here on Portland.
The first step is to stop on defense. Portland has been very, very good over the last quarter and a half. Jives pass to nobody. There is the stop for Vancouver. I guess it was Scott Johnson, the nearest target for Portland, and the Legion will take that one, Jacob. It's 4th down.
Well, absolutely. I mean, they obviously had faith in their defense, and it's produced here, but Portland's defense has been tough. It's been very impressive tonight, and that's been a real sore point of their season so far, as their defense has been surrendering too many points. Tonight has been the polar opposite. They've really shifted the way they're playing defensively, and Vancouver thus far have had little response, and really it's just been down to the fact that Logan Lee has had some touches that as a defensive coordinator, there's not much you can do about it.
We did not see any punts in that first half, and 7 straight scoring drives by these two teams combined to end the first half after those 2 early giveaways from Vancouver. And now back-to-back punts here in the middle of the third quarter. Will we see these teams start to settle into the contest? Wouldn't be the first time that we've seen that in this league this year. Just across midfield. Logan Lee has the give, and Logan Lee has a gain of 3. Well, for Portland, this is nothing new. The lopsided scoreline is a little bit new. We mentioned that every single game they've played has been close, but every game this season has been a shootout. In Portland Fleet games this year, the fewest points a team has scored in a game has been 28. The max is 42. Every team has scored between 28 and 42 points. All 10 total combined teams, including the Fleet and their 5 opponents, through 5 weeks have scored somewhere around there. Little gain there for Lee. In every game, to go more specifically, one of the 2 teams that has competed has scored either 34, 35, 37, or 38 points in every one of those games. And right now, what does Portland have? 37. Their season average is 34.6. They've scored more points than Vancouver to this point in the season, which is a little bit of a surprise because of how good Vancouver's offense has been. And they scored in the last 3 weeks 51, 35, and 48. And Portland still has more points than them this year. And down goes Brown. Portland with another sack. This leaky Vancouver line gives up another one. Joe Boomick Slim with the hit. It's 4th down.
Another rookie for Portland's defense getting home. It's been the Ricky Phillips story so far this season. That time it's Jabu McSlim that gets home. But I tell you what, Tim, I mean, that's why you're one of the best in the business when it comes to play-by-play commentary. The research, immaculate as always.
You've done a ton to help me as well. I've loved your color commentary this year. And thank you for all the work that you're going to do this weekend, by the way. Putting in yeoman's effort, just like Tyler Falk, who's on the other game, Seattle, Las Vegas right now, which you can catch elsewhere on our YouTube channel. Nothing doing on that return for Scott Johnson. It's Tyler Falk and Stephen Hacker with Seattle against Vegas on YouTube. Tim Hackett and Jacob Clear here with you from the Delta Dome in Vancouver. Legion's home field is hosted by Delta Flare, a startup company building video games and economic solutions for blockchain compatibility. Grab your knots and get ready for their premier title, Valor Rising: Quest for the Seven. Visit their website at deltaflare.gg for more details. I just said some words. I understood about half of them.
I'm right there with you.
From the 20. Here's number 21. Ezekiel Love with his 24th carry. He has been, look, I mean, honestly, Jacob, he's been good. He hasn't been sensational in this game. I think it's fair to say Logan Lee has outshined him to an extent with those 3 big runs, but he's been everything that Portland's needed, I guess.
He's gotten the job done, Tim. That's all. But he's done what they've asked of him.
I guarantee we're going to see a lot of him here with this scoreline. Love stopped about 2 yards short of the first down. Portland is up by 16 in the last 2.5 of the third quarter, and there are loads of good running backs in the league this year. I think we've seen more good running backs top to bottom this season than in years past, in my opinion. And Portland has potentially the best in the business, depending on who you ask. You got to rely on him, especially here, right? Man in motion is Lozano. I formation with Jacob Farmer and Love. Farmer leads, Love carries, Love has the first down, sheds a tackle, look out, Ezekiel Love across the 50, and on 3rd and 1, Ezekiel Love breaks out his biggest run. First down, Portland. Love's over 100.
Yeah, and again, he's just been solid. I mean, a ton of carries, obviously 26 on the ground, but a 109 across, and at this point in time, he's not a bad player to have when you need to sit back and bleed the clock a bit. You've got the 3-score advantage. You now just need to kind of run the clock down as much as you possibly can and give Vancouver as little opportunity as possible to try and count that back.
Jive is going to throw here after all that. Shot puts it short, and coming back to make the catch is Nelson Lozano Jr. Somehow, all of that for a gain of 1. Zach Lay with the hit.
I had to check myself there. Sometimes when a player comes back for the ball like that, it's the defensive back, but that time the tight end comes back, and even though it's a 1-yard play, potentially disastrous from Cyrus Jive.
No kidding. 19 attempts for Jive, 26 runs for Love. About as even as they normally have been this season, pass versus run. 90 seconds left in the 3rd. They'll run it again. Ezekiel Love, nice run. Tackle made by Drew Hamilton. Figure we see a lot more of him in this game with no Mark Lopez, who's still unavailable for this Legion secondary.
Yeah, I think that's by virtue of Portland not attacking his side of the field. They know where the weaknesses are, and the matchup has presented. Again, this has been a very successful formation for Portland so far.
Fake the give. Jive's going to lock and load. Dropped and batted away. A rare deep shot for Cyrus Jive, going for Stephen McMichaels. Or I beg your pardon, not Stephen McMichaels. I'm on the wrong roster sheet. Just as you sing my praises, Jacob, I don't even know what I'm looking at. Either way, it's a deep bomb for Jive. Don't see that very often. Great coverage by Vancouver, and it's a 4th down.
You don't see throwing out of that formation very much at all. It's traditionally a power run formation. I mean, it's called strong power eye for a reason. Punt coming up. Vancouver gets another hold.
Fair catch called for and made, so Portland didn't know who it was looking for. Doesn't matter if it's on my roster or not. It was a weird incompletion, and Vancouver with a clutch stop. Yeah, we have seen the offenses dry up here in the second half, Jacob. Portland started off in that 31-yard pass touchdown in stride from Jive to Ryan Davis. Since then, 4 straight punts for these two squads.
The game has certainly fizzled out at the moment. Both defenses are really locking in.
I was fully in agreement with you about hitting the over. 64.5, and over better sweating a little bit right now on a very cool Vancouver evening. 1 minute left in the 3rd. Quick drop, quick throw from Brown. Quick catch as well. Sawyer Stern, the fullback, makes the grab and pushed out of bounds after a gain of 5.
Showed really nice touch on that throw. Christian Brown just put it in a perfect spot for the fullback to reel it in, making his job easy. But just you see the angle there. I mean, this stadium is spectacular, and we've seen so many good ones this season. But you could make an argument that this is one of the best the league has got to offer. Incredible stadium.
Vancouver is an innovative team, always trying to do things to set themselves above, and you're one of the standard setters, no question. Nice run by Lee, gets the first down. Their recent success, I mean, all their winning records, all their playoff appearances, all their division titles. But honestly, and I know that there's a lot of them watching, and they're going to agree with me, that isn't enough for this team, this franchise. They're expecting to win now. They have done it so much, but they're tired of 7-5 in a first and second round playoff exit. They're expecting 8 or 9 wins, 10 wins in the regular season. They want to get to the second round of the playoffs. They've established themselves as a team to beat over the last half dozen seasons. Can they get over the hump is the eternal question. Final play. Brown nearly throws another interception. Going for Chris Curtis. Hits Bernard Smith instead. And there will be 2 seconds left in the 3rd after all that.
Yeah, and Andy Hamilton's not going to rest until he's got that title. He's probably the most deserving coach to win one that hasn't got one yet. But that, to me, is a sentiment to Portland's efforts tonight. This Vancouver team is hungry, but a division rival's come on the road and has shown up in big fashion.
No question. Brown on the final play. We'll go to the sideline. Curtis is wide open again and gets across the 40-yard line. Finally brought down by Dale McLean. Second time this game that they have left Chris Curtis wide open. No defenders in sight. He's off of a 100-yard game last week. The team's leading receiver. You can't do that.
Well, that was a dangerous situation, leaving him that far open, because I thought he was going to break that off because of the explosive energy that he has to get to the outside. He just seemed to, I think, hesitate just to touch once he got past the defender and was very unlucky in the end, but that's a big play.
Oh, Vancouver shut out by Portland in the third quarter. Fourth quarter is next.
The Simulation Football League is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, or account of the game without the express written consent of the league office is prohibited.
SFL, 8 p.m. music, YouTube, you know the deal. Welcome to the fourth quarter. Tim Hackett and Jacob Clear here with you live from the Delta Dome. 10 minutes left on the clock. Damon Simeon, Mel Davis, Cameron Irvine joining us. Thanks for joining us as well, wherever you are tuning in from. Portland looking to win its third straight in this all-time series against Vancouver, a team that they did not beat over their first five matchups in the all-time series. Vancouver won the first 4 by double figures. Portland won both matchups last season in season 20 by a total of 7 points. 2 of Portland's 5 wins, 2 of Vancouver's 5 losses in the regular season, and Portland up by 16. I'd have to go back into the record books, Jacob, but I gotta wonder if this is the largest lead that Portland has ever had on Vancouver in the all-time series. Again, the first 5 meetings weren't close. Vancouver dominated many of them. And Portland has looked very good recently. Lee tried to change that. Logan Lee to the 15, cuts back inside, stiff arm by Lee, and he scores again. Logan Lee of the first half has arrived in the second half. He completes his hat trick. 3 touchdowns for the second straight week for the rookie.
He's too good, man. What a player. 4 scores today on the ground for Vancouver, and another one that Logan Lee has broken out on the outside for big yardage and a score. He's a tremendous downfield player. He's just got the ability to make it happen by himself. Sensational stiff arm to get the final defender off him. Gets the score, and Logan Lee is having an absolute masterclass here at home.
That rushing touchdown from 31 yards out. Damon Simeon telling us all 3 of Lee's rushing touchdowns have come from 30 yards or better. He had 1 other rush of 30-plus yards, 186 rushing yards on 19 carries, and 3 touchdowns for the man that they are calling Sensational Lee. He has been absolutely incredible the last couple of weeks, and I saw him up close and personal against LA. Leaky defense against Vancouver, one of the best offenses in the league, no question. Scott Johnson, one of the best kick returners in the league, right on cue. Up the sideline he goes. Can Vancouver get to him? Only chance to win has a chance. And Scott Johnson has his 3rd kick return touchdown of the season, his 2nd in as many weeks. And Portland stamps out those Flames.
Well, I'll tell you what, anyone questioning why Portland brought over Scott Johnson as a wide receiver, you would sit back and show them that play right there. The spin move gets him to the outside and essentially didn't even need a block. He sent the entire Vancouver special teams unit to the wrong side of the field, and he just took this all the way. Natural ball carrier, can always find a little bit of extra speed to get through to the end. Huge return. Portland, that's just a heartbreaker for Vancouver. They get a momentum touchdown on the previous drive and then surrender a kick return TD. Portland just cannot be beaten at the moment.
No question. Vancouver marches down the field. They score their first points of the second half. Great drive. Logan Lee, the headliner once again. And then immediately Scott Johnson, who was possibly the biggest reason for a while at least that Portland was in the game last week against San Diego, and was yet another shootout for the Fleet this year. Their cannons are fully stocked, it feels like, but the question has been, does the hull have enough reinforcement to prevent all their other broadsides from hitting them? And so far right now, let's keep the cannon metaphor going. They return fire immediately, trying to take some wind out of the Vancouver sails, if not run them aground completely. How about Scott Johnson's addition to this team? 103 yards on the return, says Eddie Gage, who is, and we're going to go back to the studio. Cameron Irvine with the game break from Las Vegas.
Thank you, Tim. Vegas getting tricky on early in the third quarter. Their first possession, they throw it, and they hit John Blades for the score, but Seattle has struck back. 14-7 nemesis late in the third quarter. Back to you in Vancouver.
Thanks very much, Cam. The former Las Vegas running back Scott Johnson watching his former team compete against Seattle, a game he will be watching very closely. And Scott Johnson, now a standout kick returner for the Portland Fleet, has reestablished this 16-point lead immediately. Christian Brown weathering the storm, fires, and a nice catch. Well, we got too excited earlier. There's Stephen McMichaels with his first target and his first catch. The well-traveled tight end with the grab and a first down.
He crossed over from Queen City. He's had experience as a fullback and tight end as well. But, I mean, look, we talked earlier about how the scoring had kind of stifled a bit in this game, and in the span of what was effectively, 3-4 minutes, we've gotten 14 points. This game is wide open. We're going to see a lot of points in the last 8.5 minutes.
Could not agree anymore, and so much for sweating the over. There you go. First down for McMichaels, and a gain of 15 on his first catch. Brown, sprint option, across his body, and out of the hands of Logan Lee. I have no idea how they were even close to completing that, but Vernard Smith, they call him Viv, Vernard the Fourth, V-I-V, with the hit stick.
Fantastic hit by Vernard Smith, and that's a play that a linebacker would normally produce. That time coming from his free safety spot to jar the ball free in fantastic coverage, and that just stifles Vancouver just a touch.
There's some very intelligent chat going on in the YouTube chat. We don't say that very often, but they make a very, very good point that I didn't even think about. More on that in a second. As Brown's pass in stride, Chris Curtis, a gain of 12 and a first down. They mentioned, Jacob, that Vancouver, it may be a little bit early, but I'm going to ask your thoughts. Maybe they should have gone for 2 after that last touchdown. If they got it, it would have been an 8-point game. Instead, they kicked the field goal and remained a 9-point game. It didn't matter because Portland hit that kick 6 right afterwards, and going for 2 would not have changed Scott Johnson's chances of returning a kick for a touchdown or not. It doesn't have any effect, but if Vancouver did hit that 2-point conversion, it would have been a 1-score game before Scott Johnson rendered that point null and void. I'll ask you more about that in a second. Here's Lee on the carry. Logan Lee, nice tackle at the end of the run by Brody Gulch. What do you think? Is it too early to start going for 2?
No, but I also made the point earlier that they had a situation, Portland, I think it was, they had a situation, and no, it was Vancouver, that had a third and inches and then got stopped, and then you could have argued that they could have gone for it again, given that they were deep in Portland's half, but there have been quite a few what-ifs for Vancouver tonight, but you've just got to keep going on with the job. Still plenty of time left on that clock to come back here.
No question about it, and it is still a 16-point game, so it is still 2 touchdowns and 2 two-point conversions for Brown and company. Maybe it's Lee and company now. Logan Lee has been the standout, close to 200 rushing yards yet again. First down Legion.
Yeah, but to your point, if you do score on this drive, you've definitely got to think about going for 2. You've got to try and cut that lead back and not force yourself into a situation where you have to kick a field goal. But Logan Lee keeps powering forward, but expect to see Christian Brown look to the sky again on first and second down. They're really going to start opening their playbook up in the next couple of minutes.
Brown will look to the sky, but he gets thrown down to the ground instead. Third sack of the night for the Fleet, Luis Negron.
And the power has come from different areas of Portland's roster. That's what's really impressed me the most. Mel Davis has got one up the middle. Jabu McSlim came from his defensive end spot to get one. And now we've got a third unique defensive player from Portland to have produced a sack. Christian Brown has had a tough time when he stood back in that pocket. Now they're forced into a long-range situation.
Portland had 10 sacks through 5 games. That was 4th in the league. They're third by 3 different players, as you said. And Brown's going to make up that difference and then some. Chris Sunseri has his first catch and a gain of 13.
There you go. And we talk about the depth of Vancouver's offense and how many weapons that Christian Brown has available to him to throw. That time they bring out one of the 5 wide sets that gets them all out there on the field. And Chris Sunseri, who's been mildly impressive, I've felt, towards the back of this Vancouver depth chart, has moved up in recent... Oh, it's challenging. I reckon he got the first.
Challenging the spot of the ball. Well, this is not. I haven't seen this yet in the league this season, Jacob. I'm curious if you have. He looked well short to me on first look.
Well, we've certainly seen a lot of questionable calls in terms of the spot of possession. I didn't think he was anywhere near getting the first. Perhaps they thought he kind of. But no, I don't think he got it. He might have been a touch close to those. So they might give him an extra yard and they won't lose the timeout. We'll see.
I think you're right. I mean, it was 3rd and 2 initially was the call. And here's the revelation. Ruling is overturned.
There you go.
I think you're right. So you had it 100% right. I'll let you take the floor.
So they don't get the first, but they've given him an extra yard. So it doesn't really change anything. It just means that Vancouver doesn't lose the timeout.
Oh, there you go. So Vancouver gets a free extra yard. That was a retroactive look at the play presented by Redford. Get your SFL console at goretroid.com. Console or not, Vancouver needs just 1 yard now on 3rd down. And he'll give it to Lee. No surprise. And Logan Lee has the first down and more over the 200-yard mark, and it's 1st and goal for the Legion.
We've seen him broke those three several times tonight. That time, Portland able to scramble and get to him, but he's just looking so dangerous every time he bounces it to the outside. Very good tackle in the end. I think Bernard Smith was the one that slowed him down initially. That was potentially crucial and really the touchdown-saving play. Not so much the final tackle. We see all the time with tailbacks like this. You've got to knock them off balance before you can actually make the tackle one-on-one.
Close to 450 rushing yards and 6 rushing touchdowns for Lee over his last 2 games against in-division rivals. Line of scrimmage is at the 10. Brown's going to throw. Brown to the end zone. Brett Killian, touchdown. Vancouver, this game is not over yet.
Absolutely, game on here in Vancouver, and he just fires it into the back of the end zone. Good read by Christian Brown, finds the all-timer in Brett Killian, 2nd all-time in receiving yards, steps up and makes a veteran play. Bad read by Portland's defense, but Vancouver won't care. That's going to allow them to push it back a little bit now. I wonder, it looks like they're going to go for 2 here, Tim.
I think you have to. Wow, they're not. 5:42 left.
I thought I saw Robert Redford out there and thought that they were going to go for it, but no.
I mean, it's less than 6 minutes left. PAT from Chance to Win, who hasn't missed a kick this year, is good. It's a 9-point game with 5:42 left. And I figured we'd bring this up. I was going to mention it, but I decided to just punt on it for later. This isn't something that you would have said about Portland in the last few seasons, Jacob, but it's true now with how good their offense has been. Vancouver needs 2 possessions to win this game now. I don't know if Vancouver's got enough time to get 2 possessions left because I don't expect Portland's drive to end very quickly. Their offense has been that good.
No, and they've got a natural bell cow back as Scott Johnson nearly broke up another one there.
Their offense.
Absolutely, but I thought it was funny. Our producer came up and said that he thought he was going to fake it, and I did too. I was on the call for that Carolina-Atlanta game where Carolina faked the field goal. You sort of thought for a moment there that they were going to do a fake extra point, but instead they go conservative. And yeah, it's definitely a questionable decision because if they get the 2, you're then looking at it being a 1-score game, and you never know. But Vancouver need a quick stop here.
It's got to be priority number 1 for Vancouver. Haven't stopped Portland very much this evening, it's fair to say. 79 combined points. And Ezekiel Love looking to help end it. He shakes out. Ezekiel Love will go right sideline. Ezekiel Love all the way for 6. Portland back up double figures. Ezekiel Love can do no wrong. The best in the business back in the end zone.
And who would have thought with the talent of this Vancouver defense that Portland would come out and drop 50 on them, but they have just done that. And Ezekiel Love, irrespective of the fact that he's been outmatched by Logan Lee on the opposite side of the field for most of this game, will ultimately get the final laugh here, as once again Portland cancelling out Vancouver touchdowns within the first play of a drive. Last time it was the kickoff return TD. This time Ezekiel Love needs 1 touch to take it all the way down the field, scores, and just kicks it straight back out to 16 points. Poor Vancouver. So much effort to bring it back within 8 and then can't quite get the job done.
Brilliant call. I mean, you're 100% on it. 69-yard touchdown run for Love. Nothing's greater than love in this game. 16-point lead once again for Portland. Vancouver needs 6 plays to go 83 yards. 31-yard touchdown run from Logan Lee, canceled immediately by the kick return touchdown by Scott Johnson. On the next possession, Vancouver 10 plays, 70 yards. 10-yard touchdown from Christian Brown to Brett Killian. And on the very next play from scrimmage, 69-yard rushing touchdown from Ezekiel Love, canceling out the touchdown from Vancouver. 69 yards for number 21. Perfect picture over there on the sidelines.
And you see there he's having a chat with one of his offensive linemen, perhaps giving a little thank you for the blocking he got on that outside. And well, we talk all the time about statement performances, but this is well and truly a statement win for Portland, coming from behind in the division. We've talked a lot about that tonight, about how Vancouver kind of had the stranglehold of this division so far this season, but this completely flips the Pacific and gives Seattle something to think about now with Portland coming from behind.
Christian Brown, game not over. Chris Curtis with the catch, another gain to 13. He's over 100 yards for the second straight week. If Portland wins, they will be 3-3. Vancouver obviously would take the loss. They would also be 3-3. Seattle is in action right now on our YouTube channel against Las Vegas. We checked in with them a couple of times. They are 3-2. So if Vegas were to win, Seattle would also be 3-3. Los Angeles is a few games behind the pack, but not out of things necessarily. There could be a 3-way tie atop the division halfway through the regular season. Of course, if Seattle wins and Vancouver loses, Seattle's in first place.
Oh,
what a tag! Chris Curtis, have yourself a day.
Unbelievable talent.
He has been a new man since coming to Vancouver. Play action, Brown's throw. That's somehow hauled in. Back-to-back amazing catches. That's Killian on the snag. I can't tell which one was better. Brown, quick throw, hits Logan Lee in stride. Will Lee get to the sideline? No, he won't, but he'll get the first down and a gain of 13.
3 straight first downs.
Took the words right out of my mouth. And Vancouver in the red zone instantaneously. Brown hit as he throws, dumps it off to Sawyer Stern. And finally, that will snap it into this momentum. So much for that. Right back we go. Gain of 3 for Stern. Brown, deep drop. Looks for Lee. Right at the bread mat. Lee will score. He doesn't have that speed that he had in the first quarter, but he's got another touchdown. His 4th total score.
Oh my goodness. Logan Lee.
I
mean, he's been one of the best backs in the league tonight, but honestly, this is still impressive even by his high standards. And like, once again, this time he was untouched, just had the right angle. You could tell he was going to score it. Didn't even need the lead block. And all of a sudden, Tim, there's still 4 minutes left on this clock. If they go for 2, you're within a score. They just go for 2, Vancouver.
And they will.
They're going for it. Here we go. And this game is well on.
Mike Newtones, the center, leads the way. Christian Brown right under center. 3-man backfield. Haven't seen this very often for Vancouver. Robert Redford leaps and scores. Well, a sensational play for the all-time great Robert Redford into the end zone for the second time. 2-point conversion is good for Vancouver. 8-point game.
Well, there you go. Game on all of a sudden. And they're not going to go for the onside kick here. We talk a lot about the game clock management in this league. They are going to go for it. There you go. 4 minutes left on the clock. And they're going to have a crack at the onside kick.
It's to win. Will deliver. It bounces right.
Cool.
Wow, what a cue shot that was. But it didn't even go 5 yards. Forget 10. It's going to be Portland ball.
What a shocking play. I mean, you got the big score, you've got the 2-point conversion, and then you go and botch it. You know, they're going to have another crack at it, I suppose.
Oh, okay.
Really?
I was not expecting that. They'll do it again, just back him up. DeWinn's kick, fielded
and
by...
do the same thing.
Same thing. It's the same thing. They're just going to back him up again.
Oh. Well, have another crack at it, why don't you? I mean,
sure, why not?
let's just keep kicking onside kicks.
look, now it's Portland's ball, okay? But look, I mean, let's just say that Vancouver recovered that one. I mean, that's not a bad trade-off. Like, you get a second chance and an onside kick. You just have to give up 10 yards to get another chance. I take that trade every single time.
Well, you do. Absolutely you do, but you have to also question the amount of time left on the clock. Do you just give it back to your defense and hope that you can finally get a stop, I suppose?
Irish Jive is going to throw. And Farmer with the catch, and Farmer goes out of bounds. I mean, I'm with you, Jacob. That's why I said on the last possession, I don't think Vancouver gets two cracks at it, because Portland's offense has been so good. But they scored on their first play of the game, so on the first play of the drive, I should say. So they didn't take any time off the clock at all. Vancouver will have a chance to get 2 possessions, but Portland will have another possession in between because Vancouver failed on the onside kick. What a weird game this has been. Needless to say, if either team scores a touchdown, we'll go over 100 points. Love out to the 20-yard line, and Portland is right on the precipice of doing just that.
They gave him the first down as well. That's a very good carry by Ezekiel Love late in the game. Yeah, you're out on energy, and he just plows forward. That's a veteran play by Ezekiel Love, and we'll see. Portland need to close this one out, but a score here would extend it back out to 2 scores for Portland, and that makes it very hard for Vancouver to come back from that. But you see there, he's almost up on 200 as well. So both running backs have ended up with comparable performances on the ground.
We have never scored 70 combined points in this all-time series, and these two teams on the precipice of a combined 100+. Here's Love. Love, sight. He's on the doorstep of 200 yards. Lee is over 200 yards with 4 total touchdowns. Love has 2 total scores. Christian Brown went over 20,000 passing yards in his career, and that's going to be a footnote in this game. Robert Redford scored his 150th touchdown, a career milestone that few have ever achieved, and that's not even going to make the footnotes. That's an afterthought in this game, how crazy this contest has been. Look out, Pacific Division might come down to the wire. These two teams play again in Week 13, second to last week of the regular season. Circle that one on October 23rd. Portland wisely taking some time. Play clock now at 2. Here's Love. And nothing doing. Stood up at the line by Marquise Reed.
Well, the one thing you can't do at the moment here, if you're Portland, is pass the ball. You've got to run it. You cannot risk turning the ball over. Take the safe points on 4th down. If Ezekiel Love gets a first down, great. You can keep pushing it, but don't take any chances here.
Completely with you. If Rob is able to hit a field goal, it's a 2-possession game with 2 minutes left. That's got to be the priority here for Portland. They don't have to snap it before the 2-minute warning either. Well within Rob's range. He's already hit 3 tonight. And that will take us to the 2-minute warning. Back and forth we go. Portland looking for his 3rd straight win over Vancouver in the all-time series and a potential tie atop the Pacific Division. This is the SFL presented by APM Music, live on YouTube. Portland 15 yards away from icing this game. 2 minutes away from one of the greatest wins in franchise history. Already one of the highest scoring games in franchise history for one of the league's best offenses. Love, nothing doing. Vancouver has the stop. It has been DJ Woods, the rookie inside linebacker, who has been tasked from the first drive with stopping Ezekiel Love. And he has not done it the whole game by any means, Jacob, but he has had his moments as well.
Well, that's part of the waiver form when you sign up to be a linebacker, is you're going to be tasked to take down some real bell cow backs, and he has passed tonight. At least the eye test has looked quite good defensively. And well, here we go. Under 2 minutes left on the clock here. You've seen stranger things have happened in this league, and Vancouver are going to get the ball back, but you assume that now you need a score and then to recover an onside kick. But perhaps the math is in their favour. I mean, they've already botched 2 of onside kicks. Perhaps 3rd time's the charm.
Joey Robb made 4 field goals over Portland's first 5 games. That is his 4th make of the night. The highest scoring game in Portland Fleet history, 54 points, and we may not be done. Here's a return for Sunseri out to the 35-yard line. Game update with Cameron Irvine. Back to the studio we go.
Thank you, Tim. And a tie game at 14 with 4 minutes to go in the fourth. It's Baloo Scott scoring in Seattle. Just got Vegas on a turnover on downs. They're trying to bleed the clock and take the lead in the Pacific. Vancouver's got 1:48 left to change that. Back to you in Vancouver.
Thanks very much, Kabish. Seattle watching this scoreline and relishing it. If these two scorelines hold, it will be the nemesis atop the Pacific Division halfway through season 21. Brown indeed trying to change that. Right on target to Brett Killian across midfield, and an early timeout for Vancouver. This stadium, their home stadium, has been called a lot of things over the last few years, Jacob, but this is the most points that Vancouver has allowed in a home game in franchise history. In season 17, they gave up 52 in what was a win at home against the DC Dragons. 54 scored by the Fleets here in British Columbia tonight. Empty set. Christian Brown against a five-man rush. Right on target. Sunseri to the 27-yard line.
What a throw by Brown, and Sunseri's had a couple of really important catches down the stretch in this game. That time again got fouled across the middle. Brown has really picked up his game in this second half. Had a bit of a questionable first half by his standards. This second half has gone right back to what we know he is very capable of.
22-yard gain for the rookie Sunseri from the 27. Brown right on target and diving to make the catch is BK12. A gain of 16 in Vancouver to the 11. I can't believe it. Brown right back to Sunseri, who makes the catch and then gets taken down at the 10-yard line by Bernard Smith. Good stop for Portland, their first of this possession. Brown to throw again. Low throw, and Killian makes the catch. Unbelievable. Right back to the line they go. Empty set still from the 2-yard line. Christian Brown. Cox fires, end zone, intercepted by Mel Davis. He had the sack earlier, and Mel Davis with a game-sealing interception in the end zone. Another giveaway for Christian Brown, the league's best turnover team through 5 games, has given the ball up 4 times tonight.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tim, and I know I didn't want to cut you off when they got into that spot there, but the one thing that killed them there was not having a timeout left, because they absolutely had to get out of that empty set. Had 5 wide right on the goal line, couldn't call a timeout to change the formation. They throw a pick. That is the ball game. Portland are going to go home with a win over their division rivals for the first time in their last 3 meetings.
Well, these two teams first matched up in season 15 when Portland joined the league. Vancouver won the first 5 meetings. Most of them weren't close. There were a couple of 20-point wins for Vancouver in that all-time series. Portland won both games last season by a combined 7 points. And this season, the Fleets are going to run that win streak to 3 in a row. The most convincing win the Fleet have ever had over the Legion. The division incumbents facing perhaps the heir apparents. It might be Seattle on top of the table through 6 games, but this is Portland's night. The Fleet, at least for tonight, have sunk the Legion. A Week 13 rematch on the horizon, which surely will loom large, but in this battle of the teams that are seafarers, it is Portland with the smooth sailing. The Fleet knocked down the Legion. 54-43 is your final. The highest scoring game in Portland Fleet history at the expense of their division rivals. And it's the Fleets on top for now.
What a finish to this game, Tim. Unbelievable. What we've seen tonight, such a high-scoring affair. I just want to go back and check. I don't know if I have it on hand, the highest-scoring game of this new era of the SFL, but I'm sure this would be a definite challenge, an offensive affair. But I wanted to point out, even though the Vancouver Legion put up 43 points, I still was very impressed by what Portland's defense was able to achieve tonight. They won the game tonight, in my opinion. Portland's defense turned the ball over 4 times. Christian Brown, leading up to this game, had only turned it over once, and tonight threw 4 interceptions, I believe. Well, we're counting 3 picks, plus the fumble by Zorro Lunar earlier in the game and that big reception. That, to me, was the game-breaking moment here, was that Portland's defense's ability to turn the ball over against an offense that has been so efficient and so good at protecting the football.
Remember, Vancouver took a 21-20 lead after Portland got out to that early 14-0 lead. And the Fleet shut them out in the third quarter. Vancouver with the slight edge in the fourth, as you can see at the top of your screen, but the Fleets win it by 11. All of our eyes drawn to that same number right underneath that highlight. 603 total yards of offense for the Legion in a game that they lost by 2 possessions. And that's going to do it for us. The Fleet set a new franchise record with 54 points, and they defeat Vancouver for the 3rd straight game. For Jacob Clear, Damon Simeon, Mel Davis, and Cameron Irvine, I've been Tim Hackett. Thanks for joining us tonight. A lot more action still to come tomorrow. Seattle and Las Vegas finishing up right now as well. We'll see you next time. Until then, so long from Vancouver.